Okay, awesome. So I'm so excited that we're doing this. And I'm so excited to hear kind of where you started and how you feel now after working together for a few months. So why don't
Mhm.
you start with telling me where you were at before you started working with me and also why you decided to start the process of hypnotherapy and coaching?
So I think before I started working with you, Julieta, I was kind of the mindset that I didn't really need therapy. I was kind of like in a place where I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to kind of engage and talk through a few things, maybe work out my work week and just try to become a little bit more productive. Um, but the reality of it is, what I knew deep down is I was actually coming off the back of a failed relationship, a significant failed relationship that was 3 years long. And it was suggested to me when we hit a rough patch that maybe I should engage in some therapy. And at the time, I remember two things. Firstly, um, feeling like I needed to get myself together financially first before I engaged in therapy, because I thought it would be, an ongoing necessity, and I wanted to put myself in a position where I could afford to do it. So there was this reluctance to jump on in until I had a certain amount of financial security that would allow me to engage in ongoing treatment should I need it.
Yeah.
So there was that block initially that I had to kind of figure out. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it once I've sorted a few other things out. And then the second thing was also, if I really was really honest with myself, I knew that I didn't want that relationship to work. And it's not that I didn't want it to work and there weren't things that could have been fixed. It was more a fundamental knowing that that person and we just weren't
Yeah.
compatible on one thing. And I'm like, if we could have nailed this one thing that is never going to change, then, I would have reluctantly at first, but perhaps more willingly after a while, engaged in some sort of therapy. So I'm glad that that relationship, and I'm thankful that that relationship brought me to the point of where I'm at now, because it's been just like the most invaluable, gosh, Johnny, like 5 months. Like I feel like I've gone on a whole journey, and it was um, very much a pivotal moment in my life. And as I come into my womanhood, I would say now, I feel like there's a certain amount of graduation that I've gone through. I felt like
Yeah.
before in that relationship, I was behaving like a little girl, and now I've been taking steps to blossom into the woman that I know I can be.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. And what do you feel like were your kind of core issues that you were like, okay, I have my finances in order and now I'm ready to jump in and these are the specific things I want to tackle?
I think at a fundamental level, that I was running away from responsibility, especially financial responsibility. I found myself in a relationship that was very supportive financially, wasn't necessarily supportive emotionally or physically or mentally. And I only had myself to hold accountable for that. And so I needed to regain my independence. I remember writing that down as one of my goals in, I think, 2019 or whatever. It was like, become independent. And then I realized that my need was not to become independent. I've always been an independent woman. I needed to remember and remind myself of how independent I am and what my needs are as an independent woman. My goal was actually to heal and be healed. And that required me to open up in a way that I'd never really opened up before. I consider myself as very strong-minded, very strong-willed, very competent, very capable, very independent. Yet the thing that I was really struggling with was how to be vulnerable,
Mm,
how to get out of, and there came that pivotal moment, how to get back from fight mode, which is a place where I live my life as an Olympian and former sportswoman, having to fend for herself every single day, being against the clock or having to throw further or run faster, in living your life in a constant state of having to prove yourself, not only to yourself, but to your coaches, to your friends, your family, Olympic selectors. My life was every single day, it was measured against success, and it was measured against a reachable target. And I realized there was a point where that was no longer serving me. And as I, started to notice these habits that I had in relationships of not being fulfilled, not being able to be present. Um, you know, I realized that I was bringing other issues to the table that weren't related to my traumas. And there have been big traumas like losing my father. Um, and I've dealt with it very positively, never engaged in drugs or alcohol or really abused myself. But I didn't realize that I was abusing myself in a completely different way, and that was not honoring my emotions. And so that to me was just like, what do you mean? Like I thought I was healthy and fit and like a boss, and all of a sudden, no. Like there's this emotional part of me now that I have access to, and it's like a whole new level of being.
Yes, I love it. Amazing. How did you feel like the inability to connect with your vulnerability, be comfortable being vulnerable, and connect with your emotions and allow your emotions to be fully present with you, or you to be fully present with your emotions, how was that affecting your life, like, across the board?
I can only describe it as feeling stifled, blocked, like I didn't have a voice. In my relationship, I think I blamed my partner for feeling as though I didn't have a voice or a place in our relationship, and we were constantly doing things based on his schedule. And and I kind of just felt like it was time to kind of regain and it enabled me to come back and connect with myself again. So I was able to ask myself, and I've always known what I like to do and things that I enjoy, but enabled me to come back to a place of alignment and not ego, and not I'm doing this out of spite because I can't get what I want. I'm doing it because this is what I need in order to be happy. And it was, I think the reason why I'd suppressed a lot of my emotions was fear that my emotional needs perhaps weren't going to be met as well. And so I didn't want to lose what I had. I didn't want to lose the comfort and stability of, a loving relationship and financially supporting relationship. And I didn't want to do the work or address the reasons because therefore I might lose something. And so I had to get my head around the fact that I was losing anyway. I was losing because I wasn't living to my fullest potential, I wasn't living in my truest spirit, and I wasn't fulfilled. I was denying myself the opportunity to be loved in the way I needed to be loved, and to give love in the way that I, know that I can.
Yes, amazing. I love your self-awareness so much, and I
It's
love how much
better than it was on day one.
It is, but you know what? It's so for me, it's so beautiful to see how much, like, you were already 100% owning your stuff.
Bullshit.
You yeah. You were 100% owning yourself, and you're this, like, amazing, like, badass woman, but the fact that you are now at a level of self-awareness around your emotions, which was, like, the last missing thing, or the
Mm,
last thing where you needed to just one little step up, is
mm.
so, uh it just fills my heart so much, like, I love it so much.
I mean, it's been such a like work in progress, and I've been so thankful for you being able to just hold space for me in that way, and
Yeah.
just be really patient because I'm in this time of my life. I'm like the kind of wealth and the depth and the color of my emotions that have come up, and being able to have somebody who's just so neutral and calm holding space for you is just so valuable, and I really appreciate it. Really
Oh,
appreciate
wonderful. Love it. So what were your thoughts around, kind of coaching or hypnotherapy before we started working together? Do you remember?
So I remember because I came to you via referral from a friend, and she mentioned hypnotherapy, and I think in my mind I was more interested in just talking things out at first, and I was less interested in the hypnotherapy side because I've always thought of myself as not particularly susceptible to you know outside or spiritual influences or whatever, and and then we did a couple of sessions, and I would fall in either into like a deep meditative stance or sometimes even fall asleep, because
Yeah.
this would be like the only hour of my week where I would shut down. And so at first I was like, okay, I feel really calm and that's great. And then we had, I think it was maybe our fourth of this session, this breakthrough moment. And I was like, oh, oh wow. I need this type of therapy more so than I need, the talking side. I need this more because of the person that I am, this highly cerebral, highly intelligent, highly motivated, highly driven, always operating at, 100% type of person. It was just really important for me to step off of that platform for a second into this place of vulnerability, almost like this little cradle of peace where you
Yeah.
can actually access your subconscious mind for a moment and just allow those emotions to come up. You're basically giving yourself permission for that hour to feel and to stop and to slow down and to be okay with slowing down, which is something that as a person who is go, go, go,
Yeah.
I remember saying to you originally, yeah, I'm not a very anxious person because in my mind, it's anxious people that go to therapy, and that's not me. I'm a go-getter. And then we talked recently about me realizing that my anxiety manifests itself in a different way, in the need to overachieve and to be constantly delivering.
Yeah.
And so I realized that hypnotherapy is so important because it's the only way that I can kind of step off and get into that meditative state. And I can go away and practice that during the weeks, during the days when we don't see each other. And I can take myself there, which is really important. It's nice that it's become not only a tool that we use together, but it's something that I can dip into on my own as well.
Yeah.
But that fourth, fifth session when I had my first like childhood regression and I could pinpoint, oh my gosh, there's a childhood trauma there that I wasn't aware of. And you don't necessarily, I think there's this idea that if you come to therapy, then you're broken somehow, that you've suffered like, a major catastrophic event in your life and it's had a massive impact on you. Like you don't have to have been abused physically, sexually, mentally, emotionally to have a childhood trauma. And
Yeah.
every trauma is so different. It made me realize that, oh, that one day when I experienced this thing planted something in my mind that told me you're going to have to fend for yourself. You're going to have to protect yourself. And from that moment on, I entered into this self-protect mode. And there's a part of me that's like, wow, that self-protect mode and that fighter got me to the Olympic Games. It made me become a gold medalist at the Commonwealth Games. It made me my own gym in a country that I'd been in for 3 years. But it's also the same quality and the same character, the same quality in me that holds me back from what I truly desire, which is, really loving and fulfilling relationship and someone to build with and share my life with.
Yeah, exactly. And I love what you said about people thinking you have to have gone through something insane or like just hugely traumatic to
Mm.
benefit from hypnotherapy or coaching or psychotherapy or whatever, because that's not true. We all
Mhm.
have these little things that have kind of built us and formed beliefs in us that we can work through and overcome. And especially if they're stopping us from achieving what we really want, which is maybe deeper self connection, deep self love, um, romantic relationships that are really successful, especially if we're already doing amazing in our business because we've learned that and we're just killing it in that aspect. And then
Yeah,
kind of the rest of our life is not lining up the way we want it to, right?
totally. There's this sense of there's nothing wrong with me. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with me. I got myself a gold medal in a business. Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it's a mirror. It really is just this mirror for you to just face yourself once and for all and be like, really though, really, you can't do any better. Of course you can. We can all do.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so how would you describe the process of kind of doing this work of the hypnotherapy and coaching? Can you think of like some key things that really describe it for you?
Um, I think if I had to pick 3 words, it would be revealing. It's extremely revealing. It reveals your. There's an element of commitment first and foremost. I think that you have to overcome. So the first barrier is I'm committing to this because I'm acknowledging that I need some help, and so there's this humility that comes with that. you have to be very humble to be able to step into that place and admit that there's something that you can't do on your own, especially when you're one of those people that are used to doing everything on their own. Um, and so for me, it was like, okay, this is something I can no longer do myself. I worked through a lot of my problems and issues effectively on my own. And I was like, yeah, can't go any further. So commitment and humility. Um, yeah, it's very revealing. It reveals the level of which you are willing to fight for yourself, really fight. Because it's one thing to fight when everything's really good, and it's another thing to show up when, like you have to keep showing up even when things are good. Because you're naturally going to want somebody to talk to or an ear when things are going bad. But
Yeah.
even when things are going good, you still have to show up. Because they're the days sometimes where you might get that breakthrough moment where you're like, yeah, no, I feel really good. Oh, well, then this thing came up, and oh wow, now I've got more information than I knew before. And then it can be quite scary as well. It can be very scary, very revealing, and you kind of have to be really. This is really interesting. One of my friends said the other day, "Are you ready to be seen?" And not only are you ready to be seen, because I never feel, Julietta, in our sessions that you're ever probing or prodding. You're very
Right.
much guiding me to a place and allowing me to get there of my own accord. But it's more a case of all of a sudden, all of the barriers and all the hurdles are out of the way, and it's just you facing yourself. Are you ready to be seen by another person in this way, which is you? You're a very safe and loving person, so it's very easy. But are you willing to see yourself for the first time?
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's like really the deepest vulnerability. And so often we can't even allow ourselves to be vulnerable with ourselves.
Absolutely. Sometimes we don't give ourselves the grace, and we owe it to ourselves to be vulnerable, because otherwise all we're doing is just stockpiling shit.
Yeah.
And I've recently started to engage in dating apps, which is a really interesting place, because I'm like, I can see the bullshit from the get-go, the pictures, the sunglasses, the trying to come across as something that you're not. And there's this element now that I'm able to read in people of whether somebody's really comfortable with where they're at and who they are, or whether it's still a facade.
Yeah.
And I would say that there are two people in life. There are three people. There are people that are completely unaware of the work that needs to be done. There are people that are doing the work, and then there are people who somehow have just mastered everything. And that's what I aim to be. I aim to be one of those, and I know that that's work.
Yeah, but you're 100% getting there. 100%.
So.
So how do you feel now that we've been working together for a while? How do you feel like things have changed for you?
It's been a complete, it's just a complete overhaul of my life. Like I knew once I remember my brother having his first child. This is back in 2008, so he's 12 now. And I remember there was a part of me that softened just a little bit. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this little girl. And now I'm starting to love the little girl that I was when I was younger. But I'm starting to absolutely adore the woman that I'm becoming. And I'm just excited for myself. And not that I have never, I've always been that, but I'm that now from a place of alignment. And I know how to bring myself back to alignment because of this work. So it's transformational. And as the queen of transformation, a person who literally prides themselves on being able to transform others, I feel like it makes me better at what I do and better at my job. It enables me to come into this gym and hold space for other people and not bring my shit to the table.
Yeah.
And so completely transformative. And it makes me so hopeful for the future. I hear a lot, about them dating in LA and stuff like that. And I'm like, I get it, but I refuse to take on the negativity and the things that are holding other people back. because that's not where I'm going. I'm kind of like, I'm doing the work. I'm thankful that I'm able to do the work, and I'm just going to showing up, keep showing up, and that's
Wonderful.
it. Hmm.
What would you say to someone who is like you were when we first started, and maybe even further, when we were just really fully putting off doing the work, or putting off getting help, or looking for the right fit for them to get help?
I would say get to a place where there's no excuses. Like there are simply no excuses, because if you're the type of person that I am, the financial thing you'll figure out, and you'll figure it out very quickly. And if the financial thing is, a barrier to entry, get as far as you can on your own, and then sacrifice something, because it's so worth it. Because what this ends up doing is being the one thing of value every single week that makes you a better person. So therefore, if it's of value to you, you will go outside, into the world of work, and you'll bring in more money, because you'll be even more effective at what you do. And so my advice would be, for somebody who's like teetering on the line, just jump. Stop thinking about it. The fact that you're thinking about it means you need to do it. And also, like, if there's an element of your life that is not, is unfulfilled, and you are a person who attacks everything and pretty much can materialize and manifest anything in their lives, and what you're failing to see is the disconnect between what you now need to do, which is step all in with 2 feet.
Yes, love it. So out of all the stuff that you feel like has improved for you, or that you feel like you've achieved through this work, what do you feel like, what's the core thing that sticks out to you, that is the most important thing you've achieved or experienced through working together?
I would say, I have this tool now. This tool of, like, whenever I finish a session, I feel at peace. But also, I have this tool that gets me back to peace. So it's not like I just came in and lifted one big rep in the squat rack. It means I can go out during the week, and when I find something challenging, I can do a couple of reps. You know what I mean? I have a tool that I just did not have before. And I feel connected to myself in a way that I just did not feel before. And the ultimate thing is, I feel like I'm honoring myself for the first time in my life. Gold medal or no gold medal, Olympic podium or no Olympic podium, I'm honoring myself. And if I'm not doing that, then what am I here
Love it. Amazing. Well, I absolutely love working with you. I love seeing all the things that you've achieved as we've been doing this work. I love seeing your vulnerability. I love seeing your emotions. I love all of it. And I'm so
for?
grateful to be working with you, and so grateful to hear this story and to get
Likewise.
to
I'm
help
so
so many
glad.
people.
I'm glad we found each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But like I said, we're still a work in progress.
We all are. We all are. The work never ends. It just gets maybe slightly easier to see things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, well, lovely.
All right. Well, I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
All right, honey bun.
Bye.